Well, here we go again. Another day, another round of manufactured outrage from the professional pearl clutchers of the Canadian press. Those self-anointed arbiters of truth who wouldn't know an honest day's work if it smacked them in the face. And this time, it's all because a small but fearless independent media outlet, Juno News, dared to do what the legacy press, the bought and paid for lamestream media, the heavily subsidized extreme left downstream media refuses to report. Actual news. So if you haven't heard, Juno News, that scrappy reader-funded newsroom led by the indomitable Candice Malcolm, recently unearthed an essay penned by none other than Sasha Carney, formerly Sophie Carney, the eldest daughter of Canada's freshly minted Prime Minister, Mark Carney. And what an essay it was. Written in April 2020 for a magazine called Authenticity, it chronicled her teenage struggles with gender confusion and her visit to the now disgraced, shuttered Tavistock clinic in London. But let's be very clear here. Juno News didn't expose anything. They didn't hack into a private diary or rifle through confidential medical records. This wasn't some deep state leak or clandestine operation. No. Sasha Carney published this essay herself in a public magazine under her own name for the world to read. Juno simply connected the dots. The daughter of Canada's new Prime Minister, a man who will undoubtedly be shaping policies on gender, identity, and children's rights. And his daughter discussed her experience with a clinic that has since been shut down for medical malpractice of the most grotesque variety. That is, by definition, newsworthy. But oh, the righteous fury from the legacy media. Within hours of Juno's report, the sanctimonious scribes of the Toronto Star, the CBC, and the rest of Trudeau's media welfare recipients exploded with performative indignation. How dare Juno News report what Sasha Carney herself had written? How dare they draw attention to the fact that our new Prime Minister's family has a personal connection to the most notorious gender clinic in modern history? The nerve! The same media that spent years delighting in the personal lives of conservative politicians. Remember when they gleefully dissected every aspect of Pierre Poilievre's marriage? Or when they dragged Doug Ford's late brother through the mud? Suddenly, now they've decided that political families were off limits? Remember when Bill Maher called Sarah Palin's children inbred weirdos? When SNL mocked the Bush daughters? When Rosie O'Donnell insinuated that Barron Trump was autistic? Where was this sacred firewall of privacy then? Nowhere. Because the rules are different for conservatives. They always have been, always will be. But let's talk about why this matters. Because the left's meltdown isn't really about Sasha Carney. They don't care about her. They don't care about her privacy, her well-being, or her journey. If she were the daughter of, say, a conservative leader, they'd be dissecting every line of her essay on the CBC's flagship programs. No, this outrage is about one thing and one thing only. Protecting Mark Carney. Because Mark Carney isn't just a prime minister, he's their golden goose. He's the World Economic Forum's hand-picked man, the chosen one groomed to continue Justin Trudeau's legacy of disastrous governance while slapping a fresh coat of paint on the sinking ship that is Canada. And this raises a critical question. What exactly does Mark Carney believe about the gender issue? We know what he's up against. Across the Western world, the tide is turning. The UK shut down Tavistock after an independent review found the clinic had been putting ideology ahead of medicine, rushing confused children onto puberty blockers with no regard for the long-term consequences. Sweden and Finland, once seen as progressive pioneers, have slammed the brakes on so-called gender-affirming care for minors, citing irreversible damage. Even in the United States, where this debate has been viciously polarized, states are beginning to reevaluate the wisdom of letting teenagers make life-altering medical decisions. And yet in Canada, the land that time forgot, we continue to charge full speed ahead, outlawing dissent, criminalizing parental objections, pushing kids down the same path that the rest of the world is abandoning in horror. So where does Carney stand? Well, we know where his judgment has led him before. His daughter, at 13 years old, was brought to Tavistock, an institution that has since been exposed as a den of malpractice and ideological zealotry. Did he know? Did he approve? What does he think now that Tavistock has been shut down in disgrace? And more importantly, what policies will he enact as Prime Minister? Will he continue Trudeau's war on parental rights? Will he double down on gender ideology in schools? Will he side with the activists who believe that children should be placed on irreversible medical pathways at the first sign of confusion? These are questions that matter. These are questions that every journalist in this country should be asking, but they won't. Because our press isn't in the business of journalism anymore. They're in the business of protection. They protect the elites. They protect the narrative. And they protect the ideological agenda of the ruling class at all costs. That's why they'll hound a small independent newsroom like Juno News, smearing them as right-wing propagandists while refusing to address the actual substance of their reporting. I want to talk about Candice Malcolm for a second. Unlike the trust fund media elites who pontificate from their CBC-funded ivory towers, Malcolm built Juno News, and before that, True North, from the ground up. No government handouts, no billionaire sugar daddies, just grassroots support from Canadians who are sick and tired of being lied to. And now, because she dared to do her job, and Cosman Georgia as well, because she dared to report the truth, she's being vilified as a villain. They're calling her a transphobe, a bully, a fringe radical. Excuse me? She's on the fringe? Why? Why is this happening? Because she committed the ultimate crime. She made them uncomfortable. She forced them to confront an inconvenient truth. So let's set the record straight. Juno News didn't attack Sasha Carney. They didn't out her. They reported on a publicly available essay that she herself had written. The backlash is not about protecting Sasha. It's about silencing dissent. It's about sending a message to every other independent journalist in this country: cross this line and we will destroy you. But here's the thing about truth. It has a funny way of breaking through. No matter how much they try to suppress it, no matter how many hit pieces they write, no matter how many times they try to deplatform and discredit the people who are brave enough to speak it, truth wins. It always does. So here's to Juno News. Here's to Candice Malcolm and Cosman Georgia. Here's to every independent journalist still willing to challenge the orthodoxy and ask the tough questions. And here's to the Canadians who refuse to be spoon-fed the state-approved narrative. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about Mark Carney. This isn't just about Sasha. And I wish her well. This isn't just about Tavistock. This is about the kind of country we want to live in. A country where journalists hold the powerful to account? Or a country where they cower in submission? The choice is ours. Hey, this is Richard Serrett. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe.